Being incapable of producing the original content from Destiny 2 in a literal court of law, completely failing to understand what makes extraction shooters so special, and now directly stealing work from an indie artist. Bungie is on fire, and I don't know if they'll be able to recover. I've been a Marathon supporter from day one. All the way back from that reveal teaser, I've wanted so badly for this game to be good. And I wouldn't say that I had faith that Bungie would be able to pull through, but I definitely had the hope that they would. But between the confirmed lack of solo play, the hero shooter elements restricting customization, and now artwork being stolen directly from another artist, this game is cooked. So for anyone who hasn't heard, it was recently revealed that some of the graphical assets and elements in the Marathon Alpha were directly stolen from an artist known as Antireal. And just to be extra clear, graphic brutalism has existed for a long time now. I've even said that the Marathon style looks like they took the off-white aesthetic and added pop art colors to it. But that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about actual symbols, decals, and iconography that is absolutely plastered all over the geometry of Marathon. Everything from the lost references all the way down to her literal logo can be found used as accents and decals on pieces of the map. It is so beyond me as to how this is even possible. Something that I've seen thrown around a lot is that these were probably just placeholder graphics, but honestly I think that might be even worse. Because if they genuinely are just stolen, what's more likely is that a single employee stole these graphics and tried to pass them off as their own, lying both to us as well as Bungie. But if these are placeholder assets that made it into a packaged build of the game, to me that shows more of a fundamental breakdown in terms of management, that there's not some way to easily check if any placeholder assets are present in the project before packaging. I am an indie developer. I am a solo indie dev, and even I have a comprehensive list of all of my assets, where they came from, and where they are being used. In fact, if Kult Rising was available for purchase on Steam at the moment, I would also have copyright violations from placeholder assets. But that will never happen because I have a list of every placeholder in the game, and I never package a build as long as there are assets in that list. For a AAA studio to not have the quality assurance to verify there's no placeholders present in the final build is completely unacceptable. On top of that, I think the infringing material is sort of a strange thing to have placeholders for. Like I said earlier, these symbols are plastered all over the map, but they're pretty exclusively part of set dressings. That means either A, they're put directly onto the material, or B, they're decals on the geometry. To me, it would be strange to use placeholders in either of these scenarios. In Kult Rising, the placeholders I have are for items, because I need to build the underlying logic of this is a tactical rig, it goes in the chest slot, it can hold this many items in this layout. So while I'm working on it, I'll just throw an image of a vest from Tarkov in as a placeholder. But when it comes to map geometry, I don't see why you would do this. There's no underlying logic for a wall. That's a wall, and that's the decal on it. You either have the decal, or you don't. I don't know why you would put a placeholder to mark that you will eventually put a symbol there. You could just leave it blank and there would be hardly any difference. It's even stranger when you take into consideration that most placeholder materials used for blocking out levels fit the graphic brutalism aesthetic anyways. So if your wall material isn't finished, why not just leave it as a blockout grid? Why go through the effort of creating a whole placeholder material, or the effort of putting placeholder decals on your finished material? That just doesn't seem logical to me. I mean, one of the criticisms I saw repeatedly on the gameplay reveal livestream was the question, why do the walls look like they aren't finished? There was a pretty decent chunk of people already thinking that the brutalism makes the materials look like they're still in the prototyping phase. So why not just leave the actual prototyping materials? It matches with the vibe of everything else, and it prevents things like this from happening. Bungie has already announced that they're launching an investigation into this matter, but this is what? Like the 4th time that Bungie's been caught stealing work from indie artists? At this point, I don't know if there's anything you can do to really rectify this game in my eyes. Like, after the mess of a reveal that we've gotten, and the devs seeming like they don't really understand what makes games like Tarkov, Hunt Showdown, and now Ark Raiders so special, I think the only saving grace that this game might have is to delay the launch, and even then I think I've kinda lost faith. This game looked so cool. It had a brutalist style that was similar to my own game. On paper, it had a lot of the same selling points as Tarkov, which has been my main game recently, and so I wanted so badly for this to be good. I mean, the whole original concept of this video was gonna be, I'm making a tactical survival FPS game that has a similar visual style to Marathon. Am I worried about having a Bungie game as my competition? But it deadass feels like Bungie is trying their absolute hardest to make sure I can't make that video. Because no, I am obviously not worried that this dumpster fire of a game is technically competing with me. Even if you think Cult Rising looks like ass, Marathon is still making it look better by comparison. I was gonna make a whole video explaining how the main selling point of Cult Rising versus Marathon would be that Cult Rising is an immersive single-player co-op game with an extraction shooter game mode as a bonus thing that you can do if you're into that, where Marathon was just the extraction shooter. But now it feels like there's not really even a point to make there. Marathon is an absolute travesty of a game that needs to go back into the kitchen for some cooking, because it seems to me like this game is just not in the state where it needs to be, and it honestly kind of feels like Bungie itself is being held together at the seams with duct tape and screws at this point. Between the recent lawsuit over Destiny allegedly stealing its story from a WordPress article, and Bungie literally not being able to produce those missions to disprove those claims. They are incapable of producing the original missions from Destiny 2. And now Antireal's work being directly plagiarized, like I don't have really any more faith or hope for this game. It's sad, but ultimately I've given this game so many chances, but it just feels like Bungie is determined to make it explode into a fiery mess. So I figured I'll just go full in and make a Marathon level in my game. I'll have a devlog out sometime next week actually going over the new level and how it looks so far. So if you thought Marathon looked cool, subscribe to stay up to date with Cult Rising and wishlist the game on Steam, because I think that's the best we're gonna get when it comes to an immersive tactical shooter in a sci-fi brutalist world. I wanted to add this at the end here just to say I genuinely do still want this game to be good. I just don't have faith in Bungie anymore. I don't think that this is gonna be successful.